How Transformational Leadership from the Corporate World Affects a Public Policy by Sibtain Jagani, The Graduate Project. Table of Contents, Title Page, Table of Contents, Introduction, Purpose of the Presenter, Definitions, Hypotheses, Literature, Pros and Cons, Other Leadership Theories, Presenter's Perspective, Conclusion, and References. Introduction. Leadership has tons of books, journals, and articles have been written on the topic of leadership. It is a discipline on its own which has its type, examples, and history. It is a very complex yet interesting and important area to study. Leadership has been defined by various experts in many different ways. As a researcher and presenter, my definition of a leader is the one who guides or directs and inspires a group of people to achieve something meaningful. Leadership is definitely not confined by any means to a certain type of group or culture. Leadership has been in existence in one form or another since the documentation of history of mankind. The criteria of a leader may have changed from time to time, but the core of the leadership, which is to lead, has been the same. The first question is why it is important. Leadership refines the skills that the followers need to be successful or to achieve a goal or goals. Leadership builds a platform that an organization values. Leadership provides and also demonstrate a living example. The presenter's or the researcher's goal in this assignment is to define concept of leadership, types of leadership, focus on transformational leadership. Also, the presenter is interested in how some corporations have adapted to the transformational leadership and how it has affected the world and public policy. The first definition that I would like to talk about is the authentic leadership. It can be described as an approach to leadership which emphasizes on building the leader's legitimacy through honesty or honest relationships with their followers. This type of leadership can be defined as built on ethical basis. Generally, authentic leaders are honest and positive. They also promote dialogue and openness. The other one is ethical leadership, and that can be described as a relationship which is based upon respect for ethical values, beliefs, and dignity of others. It revolves around mainly trust, honesty, fairness, and charisma of the leader. The other type of leadership would be the servant leadership, as the name kind of shows. It is a philosophy which helps and enriches other people's lives and eventually helps to build a better organization and often a better world. The next one is transformation leadership, which we will be talking about here in great detail. It can be described as a style of leadership which works with followers to identify areas. Adaptive leadership is the last one that I would like to talk about. It can be defined as a practical type of leadership. It is a type of leadership which helps people and organizations to adapt and excel in new and challenging situations. This type of leadership calls for taking on challenges head on, either collectively or individually. The first hypothesis that the presenter has is transformation leadership is just not limited to religious leaders, but it can be used for corporations as well in the modern world. The other hypothesis that the presenter has is transformational leadership in some corporations has affected public policy as well. Transformational leadership or traits of transformational leadership have been used in corporations as well. One would think that it may be only suitable for religious or spiritual leaders, but that's not the case completely. We will see in further slides how some major corporations have used parts of transformational leadership in order to transform the world. Companies such as Microsoft, Apple, SpaceX, and Facebook are the few common organizations in which leadership has traits of transformational leadership. These organizations have flexibility, vision for its employees, and more importantly, for the society and the world. Due to the transformational leadership which entails of inspiration and motivation, the best work out of people is taken out of in transformational leadership. It ensures excellence in an unprecedented manner. Corporations or organizations like Facebook, Microsoft, and Apple have promoted corporate social responsibility, and have influenced legislation in many ways. Presenter would also like to state that it is important to understand that transformational leadership is opposite of transactional leadership. And transactional leadership one focuses on exchange of productivity or work for a monetary benefit or reward. As the name reflects, it is a transaction which we normally encounter. Something of value is exchanged between the parties. Transformation leadership is the opposite of that. The organizations that have made transformational leadership as its leadership style has taken in the lead in promoting social good. These organizations have promoted in a benevolent manner the well-being of the others in the society rather than their employees and shareholders. According to the research, Microsoft have won awards in corporate social responsibility for their philanthropy efforts. Due to Microsoft initiatives via Melinda and Gates Foundation, the government, local and abroad, have made commitments to reduce poverty and hunger. Also, Microsoft efforts in reducing HIV and AIDS has influenced UN to ramp up its efforts by joining hands with them to work in the impacted areas. According to another research, Google achieved a recognition for its corporate social responsibility. Google was recognized for its support for good causes and supportive and positive influence globally. Through its transformational leadership, Google's leadership ensured transparency and provided equal opportunities for the people, local and abroad. Apple would be another global company that has led the world through its transformation leadership and provided developmental programs free of charge of thousands of workers. Apple has involved in clean water program, which ensures that people have clean drinking water. That has led the government to pitch in as well to promote clean drinking water and better quality of human life in the world. In recent years, especially in the past decade, governments have increasingly involved in corporate social responsibility through their policies and initiatives. Corporations get the government or governments involved to increase the effectiveness of their social responsibility. Also, the governments have welcomed global corporations' input because through their transformation leadership, the funds and manpower are available for the government to achieve unprecedented goals. One great example would be the Fair Labor Association, known as the FLA. FLA is a non-profit effort which organizes members of the society, local businesses, and government to ensure labor rules and regulations. It was an effort started by corporations, and it ended up promoting and influencing international and national labor laws. There are some pros and cons. Let's discuss the pros first. In transformation leadership, it creates an effective leadership model which encourages enthusiastic work environment. Also, the employees are working through self-motivation, which results into a very high efficiency output. The transformation leadership often creates more leaders from the followers. Some additional pros: often followers work for the leader, even if the monetary benefits are non-existent. Transformation leaders or leadership creates a line of proteges which may lead and continue the mission. Productivity levels are generally really high because employees work due to the leader's charismatic personality. In transformation leadership, there are some cons. It strongly relies on the leader to motivate and persuade the followers to do the best work. It heavily relies on one person's or leader's skills. Some leaders may not have the character and willingness to go through this process because it requires extreme dedication and hard work. Other leadership theories are the great man theory. It is a theory on leadership which was done by studying people who were great leaders, and the assumption is that leaders are born and not made. The trait theory is, as the title suggests, this theory argues that some traits specifically suited to leadership, people who make exceptional leaders have the right traits or combination of both. Some other theories that I would like to touch are behavioral. theory. It is sort of like trait theory, but it goes a little step further by suggesting that leadership abilities can be learned rather than in the gene or in genetics. The other type of leadership is participative leadership. Under this theory, the leader, rather than making decisions on his or her own, involves other people, possibly superiors, subordinates, and etc. It could be the situational leadership. In this leadership style, a leader makes decisions based off of situation. Situational leader would analyze the environment and the problem. The contingency theory, on the other hand, is a leader's ability is dependent upon the situational factors, and also one's style may come into effect. It is similar to situational leadership, but a lot of behavior factors come into effect, which makes it a little different. The presenter's perspective is that the presenter would argue that all leadership styles are different and effective, and some may or may not be, suitable according to an organization's environment and people. Presenter would also like to make this argument and make this clear that based on the research and presenter's opinion, transformational leadership is the ultimate leadership in which truly transforms people and deliver exceptional results. The results achieved via, inspiring people to innovate and trigger a massive change. Other leadership styles, quite honestly, lack that global influence power. Presenter also learned from this research that if an organization such as Microsoft, Google, Apple, and Facebook want to be successful globally, transformation leadership is the way to go. It is apparent that by the research done that transformation leadership not only truly inspires and gets the best out of people, but in order to be innovative and lead large masses of people, transformation leadership is second to none. And once you do the transformational leadership, the public policy is affected. It's inevitable. In conclusion, the presenter would like to state that based on the research, it is a clear indicator that transformational leadership is not just limited to church or revolutionaries. Global companies can and do use transformational leadership to transform the world by inspiring people to innovate. It is imperative to note that corporations which have led people via transformational leadership have effective public policy by encouraging social responsibility and at times, when needed, promoting political solutions and changes. At the end, the presenter would like to thank the people who watched this presentation. The last couple of slides are of the references that have been used throughout the presentation for definitions and concepts and research that was explained. Thank you for the interest in this topic, who viewed this presentation. Thank you, and I hope you have a good one.